behalf of Mr. A.J. Gupta, the evidence of Mr. Maseko and Ms. Mentor is sought to be cross-examined.
Yes, maybe let me raise with you, Mr. Helens, issues relating to the way forward so that other counsel representing other parties will also know what I have in mind, and they can begin to consider whether they would be happy with that. One, I assume that the Commission's legal team does not intend to file any affidavit in response to the affidavit by Mr. Ajay Gupta and any other implicated person who has applied. But if they do, that is the Commission's legal team, if they do wish to file some affidavit, that will obviously affect the issue of the date when the hearing can be held. But assuming they don't intend to file such an affidavit, what is your assessment? Is it that you would like to file any heads, or you don't really feel that you need to file any heads? From my side, not necessarily because I want heads, but if counsel thinks that it's necessary and they would like to have time, obviously I would like to give consideration to that. So that's another matter that may affect the question of when the hearing can happen.
In response to that, let me say that I'm fully in favor of, I think this is an obvious point, by the way, of you being as assisted as possible by the arguments.
Yeah.
So if if an argument by myself were to be put forward and my learned friends would have to deal with it on their feet, so to speak, you may be less served by their answer to mine. Equally the other way around.
Yes.
And I do not seek a delay. If it were up to me, I would argue the entire question right now.
Yes.
And cross-examine, if I'm allowed, Mr. Maseko later in the week. There's just a little bit of work I have to do.
Yes.
But we've provisionally suggested Thursday, but no one is bound by that at all, including yourself.
Yes.
So in the interests of you, sir, I would suggest that heads be filed by both parties so that no one is caught unawares. But I don't make that submission in order to delay in any way. I can do it right now.
Yes, yes. Okay, no, that's fine. I think what I suggest that what we should do is the following. One, I allow each counsel who represents an implicated party who has applied to place themselves on record and indicate their position in regard to the two issues I've raised with you. But I am wondering whether once they have done that, we shouldn't do one of two things. Either we resume the evidence of Ms. Williams while counsel for the implicated persons and the relevant member or members of the Commission's legal team get time to try and work out what they might all suggest I should make directions in terms of if there is to be heads of argument to be filed, when should they be filed, and a suggestion maybe on possible dates for hearing, and then I can look at either that date or those dates. So when we have a break or when we are done with her, depending how long her evidence will be, then I can be informed of any agreement that the parties might have reached. I can look at the terms. If I'm happy, I can make that my directions. If I'm not happy, I can adjust here and there. What do you think? We would either do that on the basis that we resume Ms. Williams' evidence and continue, and maybe at tea break or when she finishes, whichever happens first, and then we will then look at what the product of your discussions will have been. Or if you think that it won't take long, I could stand down for 10 minutes without resuming her evidence and allow the parties to talk, and then you come back. So, but it may well be that we should, I don't know how long Ms. Hofmeyer expects Ms. Williams to take.
Chair, I don't envisage more than an hour.
Okay, all right. So maybe in that event, we should resume her evidence, hearing her evidence, while that time is used by counsel on all sides to discuss with the Commission's legal team possible terms of the direction that I could consider issuing.
As it pleases you, Mr. Commissioner, should I or should I not in those discussions include the topic of the right to cross-examine being linked to an undertaking to in presence in South Africa to give evidence? Mr. Maleka suggests I should, with a vigorous nod of his head.
I think that you should feel free to raise any issue that you think you would like to know in advance if it might affect anything.
So be it.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. Let's get counsel for other implicated persons to come forward, place themselves on record, and confirm that they are happy with the arrangement that we have just made.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, my surname is Jubair. I am instructed by Van der Merwe attorneys in respect of the evidence led by Mr. Jonas. We filed an application on behalf of Mr. Ajay Gupta, Mr. Rajesh Gupta, and Mr. Duduzane Zuma to cross-examine. I also equally would favour the opportunity to rather file heads of argument before we argue, and we will take up all the other issues with the evidence leaders.
Okay. Thank you. And you are happy with the arrangement that we have just provisionally made? Okay, thank you.
May it please you, Mr. Chairman, I'm Jaap Silje from the Pretoria Bar, instructed by Mr. Stockenstroom Fushia for Mr. Fana Shlongwane.
Yes.
As you said, an application has already been filed on behalf of Mr. Shlongwane.
Yes.
I don't want to repeat. We will abide your ruling, and we think it's a good arrangement that we meet with the legal team in order to try and sort out the time aspects of an application.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Silje.
Esteemed Chairperson, I'm Simi Libala from the Pretoria Bar Senior Counsel. I appear with my colleague, Mr. Dusenga, who has already placed us on record.
Yes.
We appear for the former executive political head of the Department of Public Enterprises, Mrs. Lynn Brown. We stand before you as supplicants because we have an unsigned application. Our client is based in Cape Town. A signed copy is going to be made available this afternoon. We've taken the liberty to provide a copy to our esteemed evidence leaders, colleagues, and have no objection to the copy. We anchor on the heel of our colleagues' approach in accepting that we'll draw heads to assist the work of the Commission, to inquire into, to report on, to make findings, and eventually make recommendations. The only issue that bewails us that is likely to happen is there might be a debate on the interpretation of implicating. It appears as if our learned friends, on behalf of the evidence leaders, are likely to say Ms. Brown has not been implicated, which becomes a subjective argument or an objective argument. And we will join issue if need be, if we're called upon to do.
Okay, no, that's fine. I must confess that at least in terms of evidence that has been placed, that we have had, obviously, I might not know any statements that the Commission's legal team might have in their possession that might not have reached me. But in terms of evidence that has been led over the past 2 weeks, I don't remember Ms. Brown's name being mentioned by any witness. But at this stage, I'm not going to say anything. I'll wait to see what your discussions with the Commission's legal team produces. It may well be, from what you have said, it may well be that you or your client take the view that she has been implicated in one way or another, even though her name might not have been mentioned by any witness. Or it may well be that you or she knows something that along the lines that she will be implicated in due course, and therefore she would like to make the application already. So I would leave that to be discussed between yourself and the Commission's legal team. But it may well be that if she is not implicated as yet, the application might not be properly considered until she is implicated. But we won't have a debate about that at this stage. It may well be that in the discussions that you will have with the Commission's legal team, you may persuade one another one way or another. So I will look at the issue only when I have to.
May I interpose?
Yes.
Esteemed Chair, please do not agonize much. The facts which are stubborn before this Commission will demonstrate that.
Yes.
There are clips, there's a record to that effect. We haven't set our teeth on it to say, rain or shine, will demonstrate it. If it's in the abstract, it is there, it's standing before the Commission. But to assure you also, term of reference 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 relates directly to our client, who is the former political head of the Department of Public Enterprises. Now,
yes.
A witness comes before the Commission and say, the Gupta says we worked here.